right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. And since there's it's a pretty intimate group, why don't we do a quick introduction? It would help me just to have a little bit of context around who you are, maybe the size of the company you work for. Presume everybody is kind of involved with Drupal in some capacity. Tony, you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. I'm Tony Dunbar. I'm a software engineer by day with AT&T, but I own a school. My interest in Drupal and private math school in North Fulton, and I have a Drupal website, and I'm currently in the process of developing a learning content management system.
All right, there you go. Very appropriate.
Learn a new acronym.
Great.
My name is Robert. I guess I used to work in software development, pretty much do everything.
Okay. So you work for an existing company now?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not involved with Drupal. I was about 5 years ago. So basically, I'm just seeing what's going back and getting involved and looking to see how the art has
Things have evolved, yeah.
how things have evolved.
All right, well, welcome.
My name's Robin Bolter. I was a teacher and I'm making a career change. So it's your post.
Okay, so you're just getting into Drupal. Awesome.
We got our teachers.
They're all leaving.
Some of them are coming to work for me.
They're learning how to work with an LCMS. I'm Jeremy Dost. I own a small dev shop. We do all PHP and lots of Drupal.
I'm Josh Miller. I'm a commerce guy. I work with Brian Drama in Greenville.
Josh, I didn't recognize you. Come in. Good to see you.
Not Chris.
Not Chris Merritt, but you wouldn't know. Really know about it.
I'm Justin. I work with Aspiring Web as the client guy.
Cool.
My name's Chris. I also work at Commerce Guys in Greenville with Josh and Ryan. And I don't exactly know what I do. My role changes a lot, but I basically do project and client management, engagement, and needs.
Good. Awesome.
My name is Christina Young. I'm Director of Business Development at Drupal Media, and we are a Drupal-centric shop. We specialize mostly in Drupal support. We do some photos. Just a small team.
My name's Brian Hoffeld, and I'm basically exactly in the same position you are. I'm a substitute teacher that's transitioning to Drupal.
Cool. Awesome. So you're just kind of starting. Is this your first camp?
No, Chattanooga.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're looking to kind of get into the Drupal.
I've been studying, and Mike and Ella Drupal is going to try to get into that. So obviously, I'm going to talk to him.
Oh, very good. Okay.
So are y'all new to Drupal?
Yes, sir, bro.
And Adam, we'll do a quick intro.
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Adam. I work with Dave over at Media Currents, and we're just to take pictures. It's entourage.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm Dave Terry. I'm one of the partners of Media Current. Has everybody heard of Media Current before? Okay, cool. So I'm going to kind of skip through just the intro. I'm really excited to be here with y'all today. Honored, humbled that you took time out of your day and your session schedule to come by. Because of the size of the group, let's definitely make this collaborative, interactive. I've got some content I'm going to plow through, but if you have any questions, if you want me to elaborate on something in more detail, please do chime in. I'm going to do this in kind of a countdown format. There's 6 really valuable lessons that stood out as I was kind of putting together this presentation. And number 6 is, this is a bit like preaching to the choir, but the more you give, the more you will get back. Anybody recognize who this person is? Very good, very good. There's usually nobody who gets this, but yeah, this is Zig Ziglar. He's probably one of the more famous salespeople of his generation. He did a lot of keynotes at sales conferences. He wrote a lot of books, and Zig Ziglar would do this big build-up whenever he was in front of an audience of sales professionals, business owners, and he would say the number one tip he would have for somebody to grow their business is to give business away. Everybody would look at him like he's crazy. Like, what in the world are you talking about? The best way to grow your business is to give business away. So I'll pick on Josh. So if I think what Zig Ziglar was saying is, if I called Josh and said, Josh, I've got a commerce opportunity that's right in your wheelhouse. They've got a sizable budget and a realistic timeline. It's a great project for you guys to look at. I'm going to have them call you. And 2 weeks later, another prospect came across, Media Current's desk, and I called Josh and said, Josh, guess what? I've got another prospect for you that you really need to look at. If I did that again 3 weeks later, what's that subconsciously doing to Josh? It's probably resonating that he may owe me one when there's an opportunity for something that Media Current does in Drupal development. So Zig Ziglar's whole point was take a vested interest in the success of others who are around you. So if you think about the power of networking, this is Zig Ziglar's kind of point, right? If you get involved and take a vested interest in maybe hosting companies, complementary service providers, people in the Drupal community, usually that networking in 6 degrees comes back. The wedding list, does everybody know what that is? If you're new, kind of getting into an industry for the first time, if you were to get married tomorrow, who would you invite to your wedding? That's your personal network. So think about maybe your family and friends would have no idea what it is that you do, but they may know somebody. They may have a neighbor who works at a company who does. So it's important, especially when you're starting out, to let others know, what it is that you're getting into.
Interesting anecdote.
Yes.
Ziglar's website is a Drupal commerce site, and I got work on that as a freelancer because of that.
No way. Yeah. That's the total way too. And I did not know.
Huge Drupal commerce site.
And I won't go.
We did not set that up.
Mic drop.
That is way too ironic. Wow, that's crazy.
So Dave,
yes.
How do you determine what business you give away?
Yeah, so I think it's for us, it's I think a lot of people make the mistake of they become a partner with another organization, but it's just more of a logo swap. It's just more of a visual thing. Really get to understand what it is that your partners do. One of the things we do at Media Current is invite them to do join our weekly knowledge share. I think actually Ryan and Josh have done that. So we want to be good evangelists for them when we see an opportunity. But I would just say, get to know your network. Everybody heard that the most powerful form of marketing, the number one lead generation marketing tool, is to get an unsolicited referral. So if I said, Tony, hey, this tax deadline is coming up. I've got all kinds of tax issues. I've got employees in 11 or 12 states. And you subconsciously say, Dave, I've got a CPA who's great. She does multi-state work. She specializes in professional services and software. You need to call her. That's when you know you've made it as a company, when you're starting to receive unsolicited testimonials and referrals. So this is just some of the ways Media Current gives back. I'm a proud member of the Atlanta Drupal community since 2007. Some of you may know we were one of the main organizers of this camp for a number of years, since 2009. We're very involved with the local Drupal community in Atlanta. not as much anymore. Meetups, we present a lot at different conferences and events. So number five tip is this: learn the power and value of listening. So one of the things that we do annually at Media Current is we survey our employees. We do an end of the year survey. I've tried to distill for you the 8 or 9 major points on what we've heard back from them. So this was really interesting because what you'll notice is probably some fairly common factors, but what you'll also notice is money really isn't mentioned. Having free beer on Friday afternoon, it's cool, but some of the more other intangibles, this is probably the number one thing I hear. I want to be a part of a winning team. I feel like iron sharpens iron. I want to be exposed to other people that I have a chance to be challenged and create learning opportunities. Hear this one a lot. At Media Current, we want to know, what's the outlook look like? What's the roadmap in 6 months, 12 months? We have, I think, some of you mentioned working for an agency. I think we have a big advantage over some of our corporate counterparts. We have the ability to offer variety. Creatives, developers, they like variety. If you're working at Turner, if you're working at, no offense to their client, the Weather Channel, you're typically working on one set of web properties, one template structure. It can get a little monotonous. They also have trouble understanding the value of community involvement. So challenge and variety is welcome. That's something that we've heard a lot. Job security, peace of mind. Is my voice being heard? Communication, feedback is desirable. So all these things are different pieces of feedback that we've received over the years. Equally as important, this was really interesting. About a year and a half ago, we, going through a lot of growing pains, we felt like we were losing a bit of the pulse of our customer base. We were growing so fast, we wanted to make sure that we had a good understanding of what they wanted us to be doing. So I don't get any kickbacks from this firm. They're a small, independent, Atlanta-based firm. I think the key, though, is you have to use a third party in order to get unfiltered feedback. If I pass by Josh in the hallway and just say, "Hey, Josh, how you doing? How are things at Commerce, guys?" He's probably not going to pull me aside and tell me all the drama and maybe some of the unfiltered feedback that he would if somebody else approached him in a more formal setting, said that this was going to be anonymous, that we're using this to improve as a company. So independent feedback is really key. And keep in mind, you may have a perception of how your customers view you, but the important thing is what they think. What is their perception? This was some of the feedback that we heard. They said, "Hey, Dave, Media Current, we get it. You guys are a hardcore Drupal development shop. We've seen your portfolio. You do some really, you've taken on some really complex, large projects. But in order for us to engage you in a more longer-term, retainer-based strategic partnership, we need you to be more strategic. We need you to be more consultative and proactive." So that was kind of an eye-opener for us. Another big one is just don't take us for granted. Some quick story was we attended DrupalCon 2 years ago, and some of our customers attended, and they said, "You know what, we got a little offended that you didn't invite us to dinner or lunch while you were there. You were too caught up in attending sessions and to take a minute to sit down and maybe just show some appreciation and listen to us." So we took that to heart. This was also interesting. Media Current, we love Drupal. We've obviously hitched our wagon to it. I'm going to talk a little bit about positioning in a minute, but more than anything, it was interesting that the customer valued the relationship with the person much more than they did Drupal. So keep that in mind. We hear a lot about training for technical skills. You need to learn more about views and panels, but there's really little focus on the customer service and people side of it. So don't lose sight of that. That's some good feedback that we got. And as a company, we decided to be a much more customer service-centric organization as a result. Number 4, create scalable processes. This is huge. As you grow as a company, you have to have processes. I would make an argument that if Media Current's been in business 7 years and Jeremy's been in business a year, we're both going to be able to make similar claims. We're both going to be able to say on our website, we do Drupal development. What really the difference is between when we say we have more experience is, what we should be saying is, after 7 years, we've been able to develop better processes than that company that's been doing it for 1 year. That experience must translate to better processes. So, show you some examples of things that we've done at Media Current to try to improve our processes. We had a real challenge. The panel talked a little bit about this in the morning. We had challenges onboarding, assimilating new talent, new employees. We decided to write an extensive handbook. Our persona, our target audience were people who were new to Media Current. We were seeing this big gap between the folks who had been there 3 or 4 years and just had a lot of embedded knowledge around processes versus people who were just starting. So we developed this handbook. Another process that, boy, we learned this the hard way, waterfall, agile, what's the right approach? A lot of times our clients were undertaking a major Drupal redesign for the first time. They needed some shepherding. They needed some hand-holding to crystallize their requirements. So we developed a template, a functional spec document, where we lay out for them all of the data points that we need in order to maybe give them a confident and accurate estimate. So this is the blueprint in the roadmap that we kind of follow. I know this is going to sound kind of waterfallish, but it's been effective for us, and I would argue that that's part of what they're paying for. You know, they want processes and templates and best practices and tips that we've distilled from other projects to be able to leverage themselves. Number 3, if there's one thing to star that we have learned, it's this. My partner and I, when we were about 6 months into the company, we were at a huge inflection point. We were trying to decide, is Drupal right for us? Number 1. That was the biggest decision we had, is we wanted to, from a positioning standpoint, establish ourselves as experts, as specialists. So we decided to go all in and make a commitment to Drupal. A huge mistake. I've observed that I see a lot of freelancers, smaller agencies make is they begin during a valley, particularly in sales, to diversify their service offerings. Hey, we don't have a lot of Drupal projects right now, but somebody mentioned WordPress. Let's dabble in WordPress. Hey, we have a client that, needs SEO help. Why don't we go and say we do SEO and try to wing it? We might have a client that needs commerce help. We might have a client that needs hosting. We made all those mistakes. And about 6 months into it, we just dug our heels in and said, no, we're going to have a very singular focus in Drupal. The other I'm going to talk a little bit about in a lot more detail, but the second big crossroads critical decision for us was we decided to commit ourselves to a distributed model. You know, we're in North Atlanta trying to find experienced Drupal talent in 2007, 2008 was nearly impossible. So we said, you know what, we're going to learn everything that we can about managing a distributed team, and we're not going to let proximity inhibit us from hiring. So I think the term expert is loosely thrown out these days. At MediaCurrent, we think experts do one of two things really well, and ideally both. They speak and write a lot about their subject matter. So you may have an expert who writes a book. You may have an expert who does industry presentations like this. At MediaCurrent, Adam was in the back of the room earlier. I think Shally can validate this. But you know, Adam's just big on leading with inbound marketing, content marketing. We've written over 500 pieces of thought leadership. So blog posts. We do a weekly webinar. We write white papers, ebooks, case studies. We're active in the community, but again, everyone's going to say they're active in the community. It's reinforcing it through action. So I mentioned, you know, we one of the things that we noticed in Atlanta 5 or 6 years ago was there wasn't a camp here already. So we rolled up our sleeves and just said, you know what, this region, this city, this community is too vibrant. We have to have a camp. Let's just go and organize one ourselves. So if you're in, you know, a market in a city that doesn't have a meetup, that doesn't have a camp, organize one. Put one together. It's a great way to establish yourself as a thought leader, to network, to get your name out there. One of the favorite business case studies I really love to look at is the airline industry. The airline industry, everybody knows, post 9/11 was in a very tumultuous time. Bankruptcies, you know, mergers, a lot was happening. And there was professors, there were analysts who were doing all of this research, and they couldn't understand why one airline sort of was able to weather the storm and succeed. I picked on United. I could have chosen dozens of other airlines to show how they failed. The analysts would say, were kind of serving every kind of destination, every kind of traveler. They were offering all these different types of service. You ever fly now and I get confused. There's economy plus and economy with Wi-Fi and economy with extra leg room. And they operate every kind of aircraft. As soon as a new market opens up, they try to have a destination point there. And then they looked at Southwest, and they said Southwest still only goes to well-traveled destinations. They focus on one kind of traveler. They offer one class of service. They operate one kind of aircraft. They've been profitable in a tumultuous industry for 20 years. And I thought about how does that metaphorically kind of relate to MediaCurrent. So our business model, I just told you, was predicated around Drupal. We only serve organizations who need help with Drupal. Singular focus on one CMS. We realize the importance of the people side of the business, so we spend a lot of time focusing on customer service. We operate to constantly improve. That's just one of our core values, and part of our culture is we constantly want to strive for excellence. And I'm proud to say, we've been profitable even in 2008. We started the business 3 or 4 months after the second worst recession, and have still been profitable every single year.
So Dave, that's still That's still pretty broad. The Drupal to focus around Drupal. Where do you get your subject matter expertise when you engage with a client, right?
Yeah.
There's education, government, defense.
Yeah. So, we've thought a lot about that, Tony, too. Like, I hear a lot of people say, find a niche. And I would argue that a little bit about be careful about just pigeonholing yourself into too much of a niche. An example might be if Jeremy says, hey, we only do magazine sites for Drupal. And I call him and say, hey, Jeremy, I've got an opportunity with Coca-Cola. It's a $1 million project. And guess what he's probably going to say? I said, it's Drupal. He's not going to say, sorry, Dave, we only do magazines. We're niched in that, I think having an enterprise Drupal and one CMS focus is good enough. Where we've begun to diversify a little bit more is I think you can have a focus in a particular area of Drupal where you stand out. For us, it's been marketing automation integration. So there were a lot of marketing automation modules in Drupal that just became orphaned, kind of dying on the vine, and we decided to kind of take those over as a company because we saw, the trend going in that direction.
So you decided to take something that was not around, that nobody was working on, consolidate it, grab it, and said, this is ours now. We're developing, we're taking it over, and work from there.
Yeah, that's right. Like kind of just from we tried to, going back to that customer feedback, customer survey, we had to dig our hooks into the customer in different areas. So we really thought it was around digital strategy, which we see marketing automation as kind of a part of that. And I can definitely talk more about that later. Number 2, this was a huge lesson learned. Keep sales ahead of delivery. If you're thinking about branching off on your own, hanging your own shingle, you better have a partner, or you better like to do selling. I remember early on, I made a career change to Drupal with my partner and I have known each other actually since elementary school. He was more on the technical side, design side. I came from a sales and marketing and operations background. And part of what I did when we first were putting together kind of a business plan was I just randomly called and polled 9 or 10 people and offered to take them to coffee or lunch. And almost all of them who had been in business for some time said, you better learn how to sell what it is that you're doing effectively. You have to be able to differentiate. If you can't do that, if you can't determine where a prospect is in the sales cycle, you're going to get way behind and lost. We see way too many boutique agencies, way too many have too much psychological investment in too few deals. Let me say that again because it's really important. Don't have too much psychological investment in too few deals, in too few customers, in too few RFPs. We see a lot of times where an agency will put all of their eggs in that one RFP, and if they don't land that RFP, they're scrambling and they're taking any work that they can find because they didn't kind of keep sales ahead of delivery. So I'm very transparent with our team. Really proud of the fact that we've never downsized one person. We've been at 47 people now. We have always said that I'd much rather have too much work for you to do than not enough. And we're, again, transparent around, we want to keep sales ahead of our production schedule. So how do you do that?
Good question.
Yeah. So good segue, right? So about 2 or 3 years ago, I had an epiphany, and Shally came in late, but you guys should talk to him. He's a master at this. And Adam was when Adam came on, we were doing a lot of the old school methods, trade shows, traditional advertising, ads, radio. There might be still companies doing direct mail, billboards. Remember the yellow pages? I'm dating myself now, but yeah, cold calling. That's how they were doing prospecting and lead generation. Learn as much as you can about inbound marketing. Huge lesson learned for us. So basically inbound marketing is the process of having people come to you versus you having to reach out to them. So how do you get them to come to you? Go back to what I said about being a thought leader and an expert. They do two things really well, right? They write, they speak. So I think you'll find a lot of these things overlap with that. Blogging. Make a commitment to blogging. I don't know how many times I go to a website and their most recent blog post is from a year and a half ago. If you're going to do that, and if it's going to die on the vine, don't do it at all. You make yourself look worse if you have a 2-year-old blog post that you don't maintain. I've heard prospects say, I didn't know if the company was still in business anymore. They didn't even have any, relevant, fresh content on their website. Organic page ranking, SEO is kind of a no-brainer. White papers, ebooks, we leverage that a lot. Freelance writers are pretty cheap, guys. And we've seen a lot of value in working with them to develop content. We put up a registration wall on our website where we collect any prospects' information, dump them into a drip campaign. I know that can sound spamish, but we're providing them content. They're opting in, to the web form, and we've learned to really wire all of our web forms to our CRM and to our marketing automation tools. This is a big one. Video interviews. If you have customers who are strong supporters and evangelists of your services, grab a video camera and sit down with them and have them tell you in their own words what it is that they like about working with you. That hearing from an actual customer when a prospect is evaluating your services will come across and resonate so much more than if it comes from you. You just have to do a reality check and realize that. We spend a lot of time on case studies, doing postmortems. We do e-newsletter marketing campaigns. I mentioned speaking and organizing at industry events. Referrals can go in really, I think, either of these buckets. Be careful on referrals. I hear a lot when I come to events like this. When I ask people how do they get their business, first one or two things they always say is, well, we just get referrals. We get a lot of referrals. That works to a certain point. It's hard to sustain referrals. You know why? Because referrals are very unpredictable. I would much rather have a very predictable lead gen process that I can quantify than randomly trying to determine if this is the month I'm going to get that referral. So, inbound, people coming to you, you're well positioned. They saw you speak at an event. They saw your blog post. They saw your case study. Outbound, we don't have time to cold call into Coca-Cola and see if they've heard of Drupal and try to set up a demo. That's just, you're not positioning yourself well. Sales is also, you've got to get committed to accountability. So if you've reached a size at your agency where you have a dedicated salesperson, or maybe you're in a hybrid role, maybe you're the technologist and sales engineer, and you're also responsible for qualifying leads, data, your numbers better be driving those decisions, those sales activities. So it's good that Adam left because, he's accountable to a weekly report.
Is that a Drupal month?
This is Salesforce. Yeah. So, and this is a report that he puts together. But, marketing has to send management a weekly report. We keep a scorecard. Sales, she has to do the same thing. You have to keep score in sales. You have to know what makes your business tick. The number one.
Sorry, that Salesforce data that's coming from your Drupal site.
Yep. So all that's
funneling into something that helps you keep account.
Yeah, and it's fairly sophisticated, and you guys should really pick Adam's brain. I mean, he's a whiz with marketing automation. He's one of the leaders in the Atlanta space. He basically has also come up with a scoring and grading system. So we get an activity tracker report. We know who has hit our site, how long they stayed on each page. He's set up a grading system for the ones with the highest score get punted over to sales in the morning. We'll definitely, if you want to see how kind of that workflow works, we can definitely talk about that. Number one lesson learned. I learned this one the hard way. Culture should always be your number one priority. I don't care if you have 2 people, if you have 500. Culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. What do I mean at Media Current? How do we define our culture? Our culture for us is defined by 3 characteristics. It's defined by who we hire. It's defined by really who we fire as well. Accountability and trust. So if we hire somebody, and an interesting dynamic usually kind of ends up happening is people on the team end up policing each other. So, but if they end up policing each other and they report to me or Paul or a manager at Media Current, and we don't enforce that policy, or we don't act on their negligence or their lack of performance, that's on us. So we have to create that accountability and trust. The third characteristic, by far the most important, again, this is a bit like preaching to the choir, but take a vested interest in your employees' career development. If you want to have a strong culture, take a vested interest in their success. So, as I was putting this together, I tried to think about some different examples of how Media Current contributes to professional development and growth. I'll go ahead and tell you one of the benefits of working at Media Current. We give $2,500 per year for continuing education. There's a direct correlation between the people who use the $2,500 and the ones who don't. I'm spending more, but I'm getting much more value back in return. The folks who are speaking at the industry conferences, the folks who want to pursue certification, the folks who are on leadership committee, those are the highest performers in Media Current. So am I really, it's more of an investment, isn't it? Code sprints. I mentioned the importance of sales and customer service. I'll give a plug for Sandler sales training. There's probably other similar ones. We started implementing Sandler, at Media Current, where we'll do, they'll come to us and do a monthly workshop, and they'll take a different topic around customer care. Great program. We give employees, I'll be upfront, this is a hot topic usually a lot of times when I go to Drupal cons, what's the utilization rate? Like, how much time is somebody spent billable versus non-billable? For us, that number is 70%. And 70% billable. And I always get like a little bit of a, that sounds low. What are they doing the other 30% of the time? The other 30% of the time, they're doing this stuff. I mean, making sure that they're not, coding 24/7 or sliding a pizza underneath the door. You have to be able to have this kind of balance. And it's reflective in, our employer retention and low turnover. For the first year, I'm curious to see how this works out. We're doing a company retreat at Callaway Gardens, flying every single person. We're in 14 different states into Atlanta and going to Callaway Gardens. I talked to other owners. Wow, that sounds expensive. No, it's we really see it as an investment. I mean, getting everybody important at least once a year in the same room to strategize and talk about goals and planning is really critical. I mentioned this earlier, but it's worth reinforcing. This is just, personal viewpoint. Again, I think as you're starting out, growing, maybe you're a freelancer thinking about hiring more employees. Maybe you're a more established agency. Maybe you're working at a company. I think this is a huge edge that we have over corporations. They really have yet to embrace this. I'll pick on my friends at the Weather Channel or maybe Turner. When I talk to them, we're not comfortable having somebody work remotely or telecommute. It's just that's not our model. Okay, I'm going to grab that rock star developer who I've figured out a way to manage remotely, and I think it's your loss, but we always try to say capability should trump proximity. So I've talked about culture, the importance. I hope this doesn't come across as like a promotional thing or anything, but this is just a video on culture where we interviewed some actual employees at Media Current, because I just don't want you to think this is me as the talking head of the company. Like, just have you hear for a minute or two some of their feedback. This is always dangerous doing video.
Was that Whirly Ball?
It was. Hopefully this audio is not.
That's really loud.
Console on the wall there with the volume
Developers want to work.
Thank you. You can tell I've not
You create an environment where you can grow in your knowledge of Drupal and your practice area of Drupal.
A lot of it feels like matchmaking, right? Like getting the right people on the right job, and that goes a long way. Helping them understand what the client needs and finding the right person that can understand that best and deliver on it.
And it's all about us. It's all about together we're going to come up and make this magic. It's not just you out on your own. You have a group and a support group. So that's really something that we pride ourselves on.
Well, one of the things that was really important to me when I was looking for a Drupal shop to work for was a company that was not only really organized, had a good team of people, but also allowed me to work remotely.
Never boring, and that's a great thing when you're a developer. Developers like challenges. Media Current presents plenty of good programming challenges. I like working in a place where I value the work that I do. Every day I'm excited about what I'm working on.
I think a lot of marketing directors wish that they had more buy-in and participation within the organization. And I can honestly say 100% of the teammates at Media Current, from the top down, have not only supported, but contributed to the marketing efforts.
Check back in about a month. We're actually doing an updated video with some new interviews as well, but that's just a little bit about our culture at Media Current. So I'm going to leave you with one cheesy acronym. If there's something I think that captures what I tried to talk to you today about, it's the 4 kind of C's: the foundation, the of any company is its culture. Being a part of an open source kind of movement, or part of a community. We talk about the importance of how important content is to marketing and positioning and establishing yourself as a customer, establishing yourself as an expert. And we talk about not losing sight of the fact that the customer is always at the top of the pyramid. They're the ones who are responsible in a lot of ways for our livelihood, for our paycheck. So that was the last slide anyway. So good time to have. Very good. Yeah, cool. Thank you. And I've already thrown this up on SlideShare, so if you want to go back and look at the deck, you're more than welcome to. If you want to talk offline, this is my email. It's usually the best way to get in touch with me. Happy to do a follow-up, especially if you're in Atlanta. We're in Alpharetta. I live in Alpharetta, so if you're ever up that way, stop by. We should talk. Questions? Anything I didn't cover, or anything you want to talk about more?
I wonder if you could talk a little more about like a distributed team and accountability and trust.
Yeah.
Because that seems like a difficult thing to really nail.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's just, for me, it was a big mindset change. I think when you're if you've never managed or led a telecommuting team, we all have these visions of, they're propped up on the couch watching, cartoons or something. I think it falls back to, during good systems, everybody has a time tracking system that they're held accountable to. I'll give you one of the tips that we use Slack for our SLACK. We just started using it, but we keep a daily priority board. So the first thing that everybody has to do when they sign in the morning is list what their top 3 priorities are for that day. Very Scrum-like, right? And then they have to get validation from the project manager that what they listed as priorities aligns with the project management team. So that's one way we hold them accountable, is through Slack. I would say we have not gotten comfortable with a complete flex time model. Flex time means different things to different organizations. It seems like, hey, I've heard from my development team, Dave, I do my best work at 2 a.m. I don't want to have to check in on Slack. And we'll say, look, we have to have some kind of structure. We have to have some kind of availability, common availability for, customer follow-up and clients. So flex time to us means being on from, 9 to 5 when the rest of our customers are.
I can just share with you my experience in corporate America. Corporate America, their biggest fear for engineers is that they're not engaged. If they're not co-located, they're not engaged. And everyone may have great work ethic, but they're working, in a silo if they're in different locations. And then as a small business owner, I have absolutely no problem hiring someone in Texas or Alaska.
Yeah.
But my decision to hire them, I've got to feel that they want to do this work, right? Because anybody that wants to do it, they'll get up at 2 a.m. and work on it, right? So,
yep. No, totally. Yeah, I think
and you're correct. You got to get a feel for the person and what their work ethic, value, and so on. Because when you ever hold your periodic meetings, which we do online, everybody calls into the. You can tell. You can honestly tell if you interview them properly that something is not quite right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll tell you real quick, Jeremy, too, what we do on first thing every Monday morning is pull a timesheet report. So you got to get anal about if somebody was 2 hours short the week before, don't let them tell you they had, they worked on a blog post for 9.5 hours and have 3 lines written. You're just going to have to get used to going back and holding them accountable to a 40-hour week. So the first thing Monday morning.
Or paperwork.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, we use our guard.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, guys, I hate to cut that we're getting, I think, the next presentation. I'll be around, floating around. Definitely enjoy talking to you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.